So today I would like to respond to some questions. The first question is that the same as "you are the one you have been seeking" from Saint Francis? I don't know who Saint Francis is, but that's true. You are the one that you have been seeking. You are the love that you have been seeking all along. The next question is, how do you stop reactivity? My anger feels like it rules me. Anger is a quality of the ego. And if there is already a part of you that's aware of anger, then that must mean that you're not the ego really. The true self that is looking at the anger, looking at the reactivity of the ego, is not the ego. So if you could take some time out of your day to just sit with yourself and ask yourself, who is the one that's angry? Then you will not be directed to the location of the ego, but you will be directed to you. You will be aware of yourself, the self that is not angry, but it is an open space in which anger arises. And because of habit, we tend to always react. Something happens on the outside, the body is triggered, there's pain. That's where the separate self is residing and is trying to, do what it does, just reacting and being angry and being jealous, being anxious. But when you see that reaction happening, don't try to suppress it, don't try to change it, don't try to improve it, just be aware of the space in which it's happening and then really fully allow it from that point on. For example, when you are, something happens, you're angry, and it rules you, and you see how this anger wants you to slap someone in the face. Just sit down on your couch if you have time. If you have to find some time, just sit down and first ask yourself who's the one that's angry. And then that anger, because of that question, won't just go away. And that's not even the point of asking yourself who you are. The question of asking, the reason why you're asking yourself, who am I that's angry, is to really just feel the presence. And then from that presence, you can really just allow everything that is part of this presence. And in this allowance, in this acceptance, even the acceptance of the non-acceptance, which comes from the ego, the anger can be seen. Now, an angry ego is not a bad thing. It is just a hurt child. You can look at it like it's a child. It is something that wanted to have love, wanted to have security. It's a child that wanted to be seen. It wanted to be understood. It wants to have its security, but the world did not give those things to the ego, to the child. So therefore it became angry. Now what you do is you don't try to get rid of the ego. You are that understanding for the ego. You are that security for the ego. You become that love for the ego. So you just are here. You tell the ego you're allowed to be angry, and I'm going to sit with you. And I'm not trying to change you. And in that acceptance of being, it can finally start to express itself as it always wanted to express. Maybe there's more anger to come, which is a good sign. Maybe there is sadness underneath the anger, which is also a good sign. Allow the ego to express its feelings until all the feelings are washed away. And then you will see that there was never an ego in the first place. The ego itself was just a construct that seemed to be real, but ultimately it was made up of feelings. It was made up of the feelings themselves. So this is a process that involves patience and time, but it's possible. The next question, someone says, I have a hellish ego. How do I integrate that? Same thing, the ego is something that is made of feelings and reactions and patterns, thoughts. And basically what you're doing is you become aware of the ego. When you ask yourself, where do I feel my ego? Then it's usually like a presence here. it's like, it feels like that there's an entity here and it has feelings. And when you're asking yourself, how do I feel? It's like the ego can talk to itself. How do I feel? The ego saying, I feel frustrated. It's a hellish ego, you're saying. But why is it hellish? Is it because you feel that you have an extraordinarily insane ego that is more reactive than the egos of others? Saying that it's a hellish ego doesn't really help. It is just reinforcing the belief that overcoming this kind of ego is harder than overcoming any other ego. So you tell yourself that you have a kind of a disadvantage when it comes to overcoming the ego. So don't tell yourself that you have a hellish ego. Just become aware of the reactions that are. Do not judge them. Don't say that's a hellish ego, that's a soft ego, that's a heavenly ego. Heavenly ego. So no, don't just be with yourself and observe the thing that you call my ego. Observe the thing that you call ego. There's a thing that you call ego, and you're just here. You're the open space of awareness in which the thing is happening. It's a process that's unfolding, the thing that you're calling the ego, and it's probably just a mixture of thoughts and feelings, and painful feelings especially. So the ego doesn't wake up in the morning and is surprising you with positive feelings. It tells you straight in the face, something's wrong. That's the ego. And it wants you to worry. It is a worrying entity. And you're sitting with this hellish ego that is always reacting, is being jealous, is being anxious, is being angry, hateful. You sit with that ego and you allow it to be. Because the reason why it's doing what it's doing is because it thinks, just like a little infant, that by screaming and crying, that someone will come and give it love. That's literally a child. It is, the ego is angry and anxious and is so emotional because it is primitive in its nature. It thinks by being angry and loud and jealous and emotional and sad and anxious, it thinks that by doing so, out of nowhere there will be a perfect godly light being coming through a portal, or maybe a mother figure who will take the poor little ego in its arms and just say it's okay. That's what the ego wants. It doesn't want to destroy the world. It really wants love. So be the one that's showing love to the ego. And the ego cannot really show love to itself. It needs to be the already loving awareness that has to show love to the ego. And when you're looking for the self, when you're looking for the ego, the center, the I that says I'm the ego, then you won't find that I. When you're looking for the I, you will find the I that is already love itself. So when you're asking yourself, who am I? You won't find the ego. You will find the one that's already love, that's already peaceful. And that open space of awareness is allowing this impulsivity, this hellish reactivity of your ego to simply be, to unfold. It is allowing. It's an open space of awareness in which this hellish ego is allowed to be angry, to be jealous, to be hateful. And in this allowance, there is no suppression, there is no hate, there is no parent who is saying you should be different. There's just an allowance, and there's this love that the ego was always trying to get out of relationships, get out of substances, get out of alcohol, get out of cigarettes. And now you are here as a pure awareness, and you're giving the ego exactly what it was always trying to get out of something in the world. Now you're here, and you're allowing it to be angry, you're allowing it to be hellish. But don't believe that you have a disadvantage because it's more hellish than other egos. It's just what it is. You know, so just be with yourself and be the open space. And in that open space, there is an healing can take place. Healing doesn't take place because you are finding a method through which you can change yourself, or change your ego, or calm the ego, or keep the ego down or keep the suffering away. Healing is when you're allowing it. Healing is when you're saying, I'm angry, I'm sitting down, and I'm seeing if there's even more anger. I'm giving myself space to be completely angry. For example, I'm giving myself space to be completely angry, and I allow this emotional pain to be fully there, because that's just what awareness does. It doesn't suppress, so it's just saying naturally, I'm allowing. It's the ego that says, I shouldn't be so selfish, I shouldn't be so angry. It's the ego that wants to suppress the ego. It's the ego that is trying to get enlightenment in order to get rid of the ego. The one that's already enlightened in you doesn't care about getting rid of the ego. It's not touched by the ego, and therefore it's not trying to suppress the ego. It's just like, I'm allowing the ego to be as egoic as it wants to be. And when the ego is perceiving, or when the ego is becoming aware, the ego cannot really become aware, but I'm just saying it like that so you can understand. When the ego senses that it is accepted as it is, then it can finally become still. It doesn't talk so much anymore, because it knows that there is nobody that's resisting its impulses in this awareness. So, how to overcome an ego? Allow your ego. So I hope this video helped. If you liked it, please leave a like and leave a comment, subscribe, and have a great day.